Okay, well, apparently I've been talking for 4 minutes and nobody could hear me. So, hi. Let me take my screen off. Let me put my camera on. Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle Masters. Sorry about the delay. I was apparently talking to myself. Not uncommon. But what I started to tell was a little story from a movie called Powell Highway. There's a scene at the beginning of this movie. It's just a little movie, but I kind of like this scene a lot. These two young Native American guys are on a quest. And so they decide to get this really good sound system installed in their car. It's more than they can afford, but this is a big journey, so they decide to go for it. So they get it installed, they're all excited, they go to turn it on, nothing happens. Well, one of the guys gets angry, he starts pounding on the dashboard, he starts breaking stuff off, and then he gets really mad and he runs back in the shop to start screaming at the guy who sold it to him, thinking they've been ripped off. Meanwhile, while he's in there having a shouting match, the other guy is in the car, and he gets out the instruction booklet and he opens it and he kind of reads two things, and he pushes two buttons, and beautiful music fills the car. I love that metaphor because so many of us feel like we come into life without an instruction manual, and we spend a lot of time pounded on the dashboard, breaking stuff off and feeling like it should be working. Why isn't it working? Why isn't life working? So what I'm about to share with you is some of the instruction manual for being human, for how to create money or health or relationship or whatever you'd like in your life. So I'm Michelle Masters. I'm the creator of Money Magic. And I'm going to share with you a little bit today about how we create money or actually anything in our lives. It's so much easier than most people think. It's not about working harder. Trust me, it's not about working harder. It's not even about working smarter. It's so much more basic than that. Anyway, so I'll share some of that with you. We'll go a little bit later, we'll do an exploration, a little personal exercise together where you can do some exploration of your own stuff that might be in the way. And then at the end, for the few, the hardy, that make it all the way to the end, we'll do a little bonus change piece. So you can actually start to revise a little bit of your unconscious structures. I can't do it. I can't do a whole lot of revision in just an hour with a lot of people, but we'll splash around in change waters. So first off, let's find out if you are in the right place, if I can make the technology work. So you're in the right place if, let's put this up there, you are tired of struggling. Hope you can see that. You're also, if you're tired of having to work hard, if you're tired of money or even something else, relationship, health, being an issue, you're in the right place. You're in the right place if you have money in your life, but it always seems to come at a price. Price of time with your kids, time with your family, your relationship, your health, your sanity. If money comes at a price, the price of your soul, your joy, then you're in the right place. If you get close and then something always happens, like you're always right about to break out and then something happens, your car breaks down, you get a tax bill, your relationship blows up, this is also a good place for you if you always seem to be close and then everything blows up. Or if you just don't know how to create the life you want. You can feel, you know what you want, but you just don't know how to go about it. You think you have to work harder. You think you have to take another course, invent the next big thing. Some people hope to discover they are the long-lost love child of Bill Gates and Oprah Winfrey. Imagine the hair on that child. But short of that sort of divine intervention via DNA, most people don't know how to create the life they want without struggle. So, this is not for you if, let's see, you're looking for stock tips. Trust me, this is so not the place if you're looking for stock tips. I have no stock tips. Oh, if you're looking for a marketing strategy, gotta tell you, really not in the right place. Anyone who has seen my marketing campaigns can tell you this is not the place for marketing strategies. Or if you're an alien and they don't have neurology on your home planet, probably not a good place for you. Personally, I think the aliens are just here to study Donald Trump's hair. Or perhaps he is one of them. We don't know. Anyway, so hopefully you're in the right place. So what is money magic? What is creating money without struggle? Well, first off, the term money magic comes from a workshop that I created a few years back. I'll tell you how that happened, which is a 2-day workshop typically a live workshop, although I do it online as well, that revises all the unconscious stuff, all the belief stuff, all the stuff that's actually creating the blocks that we don't even know about. It's a kind of fun thing. But just to give you an example of how this kind of works. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. Let me see, let's go back here. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, so when we come out to Australia, it's kind of a long commute. You can see, it's not easy to get there. So when we come out, what we like to do is do several workshops all at once. We're doing that this year. We're doing a Clear Path to Love, a relationship that revises unconscious family generational loyalties that are in the way of people having what they want. We just recently saw an article where science has finally said, oh, generational traumas have effects. I've been doing that for 18 years now. So that relationship workshop is very sweet. It's called Clear Path to Love. We're doing money magic. We're doing a class on metaphors, creating metaphors for change. That's really fun and helps coaches to create metaphors to explain their business. Nothing works like a metaphor. And then Family Systems for Coaches, which is teaching healing practitioners and coaches how to work one-on-one with unconscious family loyalties. So last year, we did the same thing. We came out, we did a couple workshops, and Lee Bundy, who some of you may know, Lee is a great guy. Lee Bundy came to one of our workshops, and he came to Money Magic first. And then 3 days, we had 3 days off, and then we did the relationship workshop. So when he came to the relationship workshop, he said, before we start, I got to tell you what's happened. He said, in the last 3 days, $25,000 worth of business has just walked in the door. He said, that never happens. I always have to go out and find it. And this just came to him. It just came and found him. Like, how does that happen? Like, what's different? Because he didn't have to do anything. Except we revised all the unconscious patterning and the family patterning that was in the way, and then the money found him. I get these kind of examples. We could be here all day if I told you these stories, but I want to tell you just a few so that you start to get a sense of, I'm not going to tell you, you must go out and do these steps and implement this plan and then things will work. I'm telling you, when stuff revises, it just works. For instance, this woman, she came up to me, she said, okay, here's my story, because I tell stories about things that happen. She said, here's my story that you can tell people. I always get this quarterly disbursement for a stock. She's had the stock for I don't know how long. She said, it's always the same thing. Now, all the years I've had it, it's always $3,000. Always. It has ever been thus. She said, the month after Money Magic is when she got her next disbursement. She said it was $15,000, not $15,000. She said she had no idea why. It had never happened before. That's not the first kind of story like that I've heard either. So changing the patterning that's in the way. The word magic is in the workshop name, and it's a little cheesy, but it's one of the most descriptive words that we can use, because when stuff changes without you having to do anything, it feels like magic. The world's different, people behave differently, stuff just shows up. It doesn't have to be hard. It can be magical. In fact, it's supposed to be magical. So we'll talk more about this. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, why don't you have the money or relationship you want yet? What's stopping you or blocking you from experiencing money, success, happiness, even love and health? It all comes down to the same things that's in the way, and we'll talk about what those are. And then thirdly, we'll talk about how to create money in your life, including the very first thing you need to do, which we'll do together today. How about that? So, just so you know who I am, I didn't just wander in off the street and hook up a webinar. My name is Michelle Masters. I've been an NLP trainer and master practitioner for 20 years at the beloved NLP Marin in Nevada, California. And I've been doing family constellations, facilitating those for 18 years. And I've been doing more quantum-y kind of change work, which I'll talk a little about later, formally for the last 10, and before that, informally, for quite some time. So I teach almost every weekend. I'm blessed to have students and clients all over the world. Life is really wonderful, which is why I want that for everybody. It was not always that way. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you a picture, because when I was younger, I had an achievement problem. Hope you can see my screen. I had an achievement problem the way some people have a drinking problem, and for pretty much the same reason. I had no sense of self, no sense of worth other than what I could achieve. I was so miserable I insisted they use this picture for my graduation picture, because I didn't want anyone to mistakenly think I was happy. It got so bad that even I realized at 18 that having a sense of worth just through achievement was not ideal. So a long journey started for me. I wandered, I did all kinds of things. I painted houses in Maine, I painted scenery off Broadway. I wandered in the wilderness, both literally and figuratively, until finally one day I wandered into a free seminar at NLP Marin in Nevada, California. Actually, it was in Santa Rosa, but I came in for a free seminar, and I saw the price of the training, and I almost left before the free seminar started because I thought, well, there's no way I can afford this. But someone talked me into it. Within half an hour of that 3-hour workshop, I knew this is what I wanted to do. Because I'd been in therapy for years, and although I got a lot out of it, I got a lot of self-understanding, a lot of self-awareness, nothing changed. And in a half hour in that workshop, just doing the little NLP parlor tricks, I could feel things change. I could feel things were different. And I thought, if they can do that in half an hour, what can they do for real? And I found out, and I've been doing it ever since. It's magnificent work. So in addition to doing the work, Carl Buchheit, the trainer, did a lot of work on me. And so I finally got some relief, some sense of peace, and things got a lot better. So about 2006, our executive director, Denny McGinnis, asked me to create a 2-day workshop around money. Now, if you knew me at the time, this was a little like asking Vladimir Putin and Kanye West to do a joint seminar on humility. I mean, it was not a no-brainer. I had no relationship with money. I didn't know anything about money, actually. But I did know something about how to create change for people. That's all. That's what I was doing. That's what I do all day long. So instead of designing a workshop that talked about financial planning, I designed a workshop that was all change patterns, change techniques, designed around money, to revise all the unconscious structures that are in the way, because it's almost never the conscious stuff that's in the way. I got to tell you, it's the unconscious stuff. The stuff you don't even know is there, the stuff that's running automatically. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. So I put all these NLP change pieces together. I tried them out on me first just to make sure they didn't cause any explosions or unsightly bloating. And we did the workshop. It went fine. We got really good feedback over the next few months. And a year later, when it was time to do it again, I thought, that's funny. It feels like my income's gone up. And when I checked, my income was up 66% consistently. And it stayed up. It's been on an upward trajectory ever since. Well, okay, 2008, do you remember 2008, the GFC? I learned that from my Australian clients. I kept asking, what's GFC? And they said global financial crisis. I said, oh, seems like it should probably be GCF, global cluster fiasco. Anyway, 2008 I was kind of flat, but then after that it started going back up again. So it even works on me, and trust me, anything that works on NLP trainers is pretty powerful stuff. We are the most resistant to change people out there. But what I found was there's some very typical ways people get stuck, and so there are change patterns you can do to unstick people. A few years later, I started adding in some of the quantum modalities, and then it got really fun, because before, when it was just NLP, people would take the workshop, things would unfold, as I said, over the weeks and months to come. When I started adding in the quantum work, people would get changes before the workshop. Like, they would register and get a check for $1,000 in the mail, or $3,000 in the mail. I can't tell you how many times that happened. We'd be here all day if I started telling you those stories. But the quantum stuff, because it operates outside of time and space, effects can precede causes. And so the changes can show up before you even do the change. That I find really, really fun. So here's the deal. So many people are stuck and struggle with money, and they tend to blame themselves. They tend to think it's because I'm lazy, or I'm stupid, or broken, or flawed, fatally flawed in some way. It's never those things. Some people blame the others. It's the government, it's corporations. But whether we're blaming ourselves or others, blame is a lot of wear and tear on our heart, and it's actually not what's in the way. But it takes a big toll on lives and relationships. More couples fight about money than anything else. So, this is what I want you, if you take nothing else away, I want you to understand, changing how much money you make is not about working harder. It's not about working more. We all know people who work really, really hard and don't make any money. And actually, all of us know some people who are making a lot of money who frankly aren't working that hard. It's not about working hard. It's not about inventing the next big thing. It's not about writing a book. One of my clients is in the publishing industry. He says there are 6 million books published every year. The average book sells 4 copies, 4 or 5, I can't remember, but it's either 4 or 5 copies. So it's not about writing the next book, the next bestseller. It's actually so much easier, so much closer than that, but so invisible that almost nobody knows it's there. So that's what we're gonna talk about today. And I can't tell you how many people who've taken Money Magic use exactly the same phrase to me. They say, I don't feel like I've been doing anything differently, but their income doubled or tripled or quadrupled. They don't even know that their income's gone up until they go to do their taxes, because it all came about so organically. They weren't trying, they weren't pushing. It just happened almost when they weren't looking. They either tell me, I don't feel like I did anything differently, or this just showed up out of the blue. Those are the 2 phrases I hear from people over and over. Yeah, out of the blue, this guy called me. Out of the blue, these people gave me this money. Out of the blue, this thing opened up. So, we just want you to start to realize it's not that you're broken or lazy or stupid, that you don't have what you want, whether it's relationship or money or health. We'll start with biology. We'll get a little more woo-woo as we go and talk about the things that are in the way. So, the most important thing for you to know is that the big things that you believe about yourself and the world are pretty much in place by age 3. Your big beliefs about who you are, what you deserve, what you're worth, what the world is like, those are a done deal by 3. Now, once those decisions, those beliefs get created, by 3, if we don't die, and I'm guessing you're not dead, our system then automates it. Those become automatic. Kind of like, when the doctor hits your knee with that little mallet and makes your leg kick. They become automatic like that. They become automatic. They run automatically 24 hours a day. We don't even think about them. Now, most of our learning is supposed to be automated, and we can talk some other time about why that's a good thing. But some of the things we decide about ourselves, we hold as learnings, they become automated, and then off we go. So, if you grow up with a struggle around money, if you grow up watching people struggle around money, if you grow up surrounded by the idea that there's not enough, that only some people can have money, that there are haves and have-nots, whatever you grow up experiencing around money, these become associations, and those associations become beliefs. It's not like you stand on your hips and you say, I am going to decide that money is scarce. It's just you experience it, it becomes an association, and then that becomes part of the template for your reality. So in a few minutes, we're going to do an exercise to find out what some of your automatic patterns are. But the good news is you can change those patterns. It's like rewriting mental software. Once you rewrite software, a software program, it runs differently. The software never says, yeah, but I've been doing this old pattern before for so long, it's so familiar. Software never does that when you rewrite it. It just runs the new patterning. You don't have to motivate it. You don't have to say, go little software, come on, you can do it. It just runs. Software runs. The way it ran the old pattern, it will now run the new pattern. So when our mental software is revised, we have a very different experience. We have a subjectively different experience and an objectively different experience. In fact, there may not be an objective reality. This is what quantum physics tells us. There's probably not an objective reality, because who would be the observer who would call it objective? So, to give you an example, I love buying audio and video equipment. And so there used to be a store called Circuit City. Whenever I needed AV or stereo equipment, I would go to Circuit City for all my audio needs. And it was always fine. There was always somebody there. I always got what I needed. It all went pretty smoothly. I got a good price. And so a friend of mine needed some audio equipment, and I think a CD player, and I said, well, let's go to Circuit City. She said, oh no, it's terrible there. Service is awful. I said, no, really, it's good. I've been there. You'll see. Come on, let's go. So we went. For the first time ever, sorry, I lost myself. Hold on. There we go. For the first time ever, not a salesperson in sight. I mean, we could have walked out with the whole store, couldn't find anybody. When we finally found somebody, they were crabby and they didn't know what they were doing, and she got frustrated and left. I thought, wow, that has never happened to me. So, a couple weeks later, I wanted something, and I thought, well, should I go? That was really weird. And I thought, well, I'll give it a try. I walked in, there was somebody right there, they were really helpful, I got what I wanted, I left. She had her Circuit City experience, and I had mine. It seems like we live in a common reality, but actually we live in very different realities. And those are largely a function of our mental filters, which are our beliefs. A lot has been talked about the law of attraction lately, and we agree with all of it. Where people get into trouble is they are trying to consciously pay attention to what they want, which means they're having to try and override their unconscious programming. This is a lot of work, trying to manually override. It's like trying to make your knee not do that little kicky thing when they hit it with the mallet. Or, you say, I am not kicking, I am kick free, I'm kick free, I'm kick free. Oops, it kicked. Darn it, it kicked. I'm kick free, I'm kick free. But that's just a pattern. So, this is what the change patterns that we do in money magic are so valuable for doing, is they actually change the patterns. They revise them like software so that people can have more of what they want without having to struggle, without having to try, without having somebody having to tell them what they should do. It's just different. Even workshops that focus on belief tend to focus on what we consciously believe. They tend to focus on consciously believing and asserting something else. But so little of what we experience is actually conscious. Just to give you an example, consciously, this is science, a paper written by George Miller in 1956, some limits on our conscious ability to process information, something like that. Consciously, you can pay attention to somewhere between 5 and 9 things at any given time. That's how much you can pay attention to consciously. Not great at the finger thing. Unconsciously, upwards of 2 million things per second is your unconscious paying attention to. So if you've got a lot of beliefs and patterns running unconsciously, there's not enough money, well, you have to work hard, some people have it, you got to be lucky, you got to be this, you got to be that. If you've got hundreds of thousands of those associations running unconsciously, and you're trying to consciously affirm, money comes to me easily, with your 5 to 9, when you've got hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of associations running contrary to that, it's like standing at a fire hose that's gushing cold water with your little eyedropper of hot water trying to warm up that, that stream there with your little drops. It's hard work, and this is why change seems to happen so slowly for people. It doesn't have to be slow. It can actually be instant. It can actually precede when you think you're creating the change. But we slow it down because we're always trying to override, we're trying to consciously assert something, overriding what we're doing unconsciously. So here's the thing. There are so many people who have a whole lot of information, who do the right things. They do the steps in a workshop. They take a seminar. They read the book. They follow the steps, and nothing changes. It changes a little, and then it goes back. They run for a while off the adrenaline and high of the workshop, and then things just go right back where they are. Because the things that keep us really stuck are almost never a lack of information or behavior. It's a leap of faith, I know, if you're still with me so far, because I know a lot of things promise change. But if you don't have what you already want, it's almost never a lack of information or behavior. An easy metaphor to understand this is the one that I used before, which is software. If you have software that keeps creating problems for you, learning a bunch of information does not rewrite the software. Reading a book does not rewrite the software. Getting yourself pumped up and screaming and jumping up and down does not rewrite the software. Pushing yourself, creating an accountability list does not rewrite the software. The only thing that rewrites the software is rewriting the software. And once you rewrite it, then it's different. Otherwise, you're just yelling at your computer and expecting it to be different. This is what we do to ourselves. We yell at ourselves, we make ourselves wrong. Never works. Because we're going about it in the wrong way. When you rewrite human software, though, it's just different. Another example I like to share is a young man came, named Zach. He came to our online money magic workshop, and he had some beliefs that he noticed in the course of actually the exercise we're going to do in just a few minutes. So we're about 2 minutes away from doing that exercise. He realized he had this association that money causes problems, and he had a couple other associations. He said before he came to the workshop, he was in college. He started 2 businesses in college. His first business did $60,000 of sales its first year. His other business did $300,000 worth of sales its first year. He said to me, you know how much of that I kept? $3,000. So he was generating all this money and none of it was staying. This was an online course that started in September and went on for 6 months. We're doing that actually this September. If you can't come to an in-person workshop, there's always the online. But he texted me a picture of his investment account, because at the end of the quarter, whatever quarter September is, he'd gotten a statement from this investment account he had that he hadn't touched in years. He never did anything with it. So for years, it was always the same thing. It would go up or down like $4, but it was always the same. So he showed me. It said June was like this, like it always was. July, like it always was. August, like it always was. September was triple. It tripled in September. He said, I didn't touch it. How did that happen? It's kind of like the disbursement. Kind of like the woman who, she kept this, when she was on the online course, this bank started calling her, telling her there was $2,000 in her account. She said, no, I closed that account. They said, no, you have $2,000. She was arguing with him for weeks, and she finally just gave in. All of a sudden, all this money showed up. Where did it come from, right? So let's get ready. Let's do a little exercise here. What I'm going to do, we're going to find out what some of the old software you're running is, what some of the associations you have running that you don't even know about. And these may not be things that you consciously think about, but if they're kind of rolling around in your head, they're actually affecting how you relate to the world. So just notice what words or phrases come up. I'm going to start a sentence, and then we'll let you finish the sentence. Just with whatever pops up in your head. Don't think about it. Kind of go with your first impulse. So I'm going to share my screen with you while I kind of read these to you. Hold on. So the first one is, just let the answer pop up and just notice what comes up. People with money are... Money makes people... I'd have more money if... My father thought money was... My mother thought money was... I'd be more successful if... In my family, money equals if I could afford it, I'd... Money is... Money causes... In order to be more successful, I'd need to... Having money is not in order to have more money, I need to success always I deserve I don't deserve people deserve to have money if So, what did you notice? Were there any themes that came up? One of the core beliefs that shows up for a lot of people is around worth and deserving. You'll notice there were a lot of statements in there about that because it's such a huge deal. We think we have to work hard to deserve good things. We think we get what we deserve. Actually, we only let ourselves have what we think we deserve, and unfortunately, most of us don't think we deserve very much. So we're often trying to prove that we deserve by working hard, by being diligent, by being loyal, by being smart. We think we have to prove our worth in order to have good things. So we let ourselves have what we think we deserve and no more. This is why most lottery winners, in Britain they call them lottery louts quite often, because typically they end up blowing up their lives in one way or another. They've actually done studies that people who win the lottery, usually within a year, they're right back where they started. Either they blow all the money, or they still got more money, but their happiness levels, like they're happy for a year, and then it kind of resets to where they were before. Because their worth, all the inner structures are the same. They just added more money to it. Adding more money into inner structures that are shaky just puts more pressure on a shaky foundation. If the foundation is shaky, it can't stand a whole lot of pressure. This is why people who get a whole lot of success really early, athletes and celebrities, often have spectacular meltdowns because they've just put a whole lot of money on top of a shaky foundation. So let's try an experiment. Let's do this right now. Let me get my screen, see if I can get my screen back on for you. Picture the infinite worth that you come from. Watch from outside. Watch the version of you before you came into physical form. Then, watch yourself come into physical form in the womb, and watch yourself start to grow and develop. When does the experience of your worth start to diminish? As soon as you come in? Do you lose a bunch as soon as conception starts? Or in utero? Or a few years after birth? If you watch yourself from the outside, when does it start to change? And does it change all at once or gradually? How does that change how you start to relate to life and the things you want? How does it start to change how you relate to people and the world and yourself? Watch yourself come all the way up to present time. Now, just for a moment, sorry if I'm going a little fast, I'm probably going too slow for some people and too fast for other people, but imagine if we could reset the factory settings. If we could reset your worth back to infinite, and you could experience yourself as infinitely worthy, and watch yourself grow up that way, how different would that be? How would your relationships be? How would your work be? How would your money be? Your health? How would your life be? Just notice what a difference that would make if you actually could experience the truth of who you are, your true worth. Now, oops. Trying to get my camera to come back on. Sorry. Okay. I promise you that's just that whatever you imagined there is just a fraction of the infinite worth that you actually are. Sometimes people think they have to do great things. They have to change the world to prove their worth. They have to save the world to prove their worth. This is never actually the case. If you are actually in contact with the actual worth that you are, that, my friend, that is life-changing and world-changing. That has an effect everywhere you go, without even trying. So, and when you do that, your life flows better, money flows better, your health flows better, relationship, everything works better. Now, discovering what you think you're worth, and then finding out what your actual worth is, that in itself is pretty profound. This is just one of the things that we do in our workshop, Money Magic. We actually take people through about 11 different steps to truly transform and anchor a different experience of money into their lives. So here's what we do in Money Magic to change beliefs and patterns around money. The first thing we do is get clear on what you want. What you want and why you want it, why it's important. And the reason that's important is because often the things we think we want, we only want them because we think we need those things to have other things, and it's the other things we actually want. So it's good to get clear on what it is you actually want so that you don't create a pile of money that doesn't give you the experience you want. And secondly, we got to know what you want to be experiencing so your internal GPS knows where to head you. So it's through our wants and desires that we truly reach out to life. Wanting is actually, it's an engagement with life. It's a very powerful thing. We often think that spiritual people don't want things, but actually, when you want, you participate in the flow and unfoldment of life. People who don't want are not very engaged. They're just kind of bystanders. And you didn't come here to be a bystander. You came here to try stuff on, to want stuff, to create stuff. That's what it's for. This is a big playground, and that's what you came here for. So the second thing that we do is we understand how your beliefs gets formed, because your beliefs are your filters. There's a reason, if you don't have what you want, there's a reason you don't have it yet. And then thirdly, we uncover the hidden beliefs that are in the way, because it's usually the ones that you don't even know are there that are kicking up the trouble. Often, the things that are really the beliefs that are problematic, you will not think of them as beliefs. You'll think, well, that's just the way things are. Well, obviously that's true. You don't even think about it. It's just almost like the sun comes up in the morning. You presuppose the things that are most in your way. You don't recognize them as beliefs. So, and you may have noticed you were surprised by some of the stuff that came up in the belief exercise we did. We find out what those are that are in the way and start to revise those. So the next thing we do then is revise the patterns from the past that have created the current situation. Because when you revise those things, then they start creating a different present and future. The next thing we do, this is so huge, we work on revising our sense of worth. because that is so profound and integral to having a different experience of money and life and love. All of it. What we think we deserve, what we think our worth is, shows up most painfully in relationships and money. So we spent a chunk of time working on expanding your sense of your actual worth. The next thing we do, we also acknowledge the ancestral ties and dynamics that are often behind some of the biggest blocks. This, if you know family constellation work, I incorporate some of that in because it's so powerful and it's such a huge part of what keeps people stuck. If you don't know what family constellation stuff is, you can look on my website, Michelle Masters NLP. There's a whole little tab on family constellations that'll help explain it to you. Next thing we do is we discover and revise our unconscious relationship to money. This was so profound for me. You may have actually done it, because when I started doing this, I know some folks who are out in Australia now, Jeff and Kane, they liked that little exercise from Money Magic, and so a lot of people have now done this, where you find out your unconscious relationship to money. But it's quite profound, and I still do it periodically, because occasionally my relationship with money will drift. So it's a way of checking in, kind of, how am I doing unconsciously? Because all our attention is typically on our conscious experience, and that's where so little of the action is. So that's a big deal. We also do an exercise like that in our Clear Path to Love workshop that we'll be doing in Australia as well, because finding out what your unconscious relationship to relationship is eye-opening. It's truly eye-opening. Then we do something to integrate unconscious aspects of consciousness, because like I said, 5 to 9 things going on consciously, 2 million unconsciously. That's where most of you do the math, that's where most of the energy is. Then we do some quantum-y stuff. Like I told you, when I first started this, it was all NLP. But then I started adding in the quantum stuff, and it got really, really fun. I tell you, those are some of my favorite stories. I had a woman, she came up to me, she said, I know you said, she came up on the second day of the workshop, she said, I know you said that things can happen. I know you said that we won't expect. She said, but you'll never guess what happened. She said, I went home after the first day of the workshop, and my husband met me at the door. He said, you'll never guess what happened. This woman stopped by and dropped off $13,000 of cash. They don't know why. I don't think they ever found out why. Just dropped off a bunch of money. They were almond growers, and so they gave me a gift pack of almonds. So they got $13,000, I got almonds. Hey, everybody wins. So that's really fun. And if you come to the in-person Money Magic workshop, ask me to tell you the story about, the manifestation story about my calendar. That's a little on the woo-woo side and really cool. So, the last thing we do then is integrate and reinforce all that change so that we create the desired future and collapse those quantum wave functions into reality. So that's how me and my students have been creating this kind of magic in our financial, and it's not just financial. I do want to say this. It's not just about making money. There's no point making money if you're not happy. No point at all. So the point of this is not just for you to make more money, but for you to be happier and for the money to be an expression of that happiness, not the source of it. Because money is not a good source of happiness, but as an expression of it, it's beautiful. It is wonderful and rich. So, some of you, this may be enough for you, this may be plenty. I hope so. If you'd like to take more, what we'd like to do is invite you to Money Magic in Australia. We're doing Money Magic in both Sydney and Auckland in about 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today, actually, we will be doing Money Magic in Sydney. And a month from today, we'll be doing it in Auckland. 2-day workshop. We're also doing other workshops, as I said, a relationship one, a metaphor one, and a coaching one. But we want to invite you because that's where you can actually change the patterns and beliefs that are creating whatever you've currently got, change those to create what you'd really like. Now, I'm supposed to tell you why you need to come to the workshop. Well, you don't need to come to the workshop, but let me tell you why you might want to come to the workshop. It would take me over 2 years to teach you how to revise your own patterns and beliefs. And actually, we don't usually do the best work on ourselves. I could tell you some stories. But in 2 days, I can take you through a series of change patterns that will revise a large chunk of your unconscious patterns in relationship to money to start creating a different experience. One of my clients said his fiancée was getting ready to get me a gift. She was because we had done a little work. Her income had been stagnant for 6 years, and after we did some work, it went up 1,200%, 1,200%. In just a few months, it went up. I had another one, a weight loss coach, a wonderful weight loss coach. She'd been in practice for 20 years, had a good practice, but in the month after Money Magic, her practice doubled. After 20 years of steady and good, it doubled. This stuff happens all the time. Not for everybody. Honestly, nothing works for everybody. And I'd be lying if I said it did. And I would never lie to you. Well, I hope not. One of the only downsides about this workshop, though, is the work works so seamlessly that often people don't realize they've made more money because they didn't feel like they were doing anything differently. I hear all the time, it's not until people go to do their taxes that they discover, wow, their income doubled or tripled. And because it's always nice to have incentive, if you sign up for one of our workshops, either Money Magic, Clear Path to Love, which is all that family constellation work focused on relationship, really sweet relationship. People get lovely changes out of it. They also get a lot of fiancés out of it. Metaphors for Change or Family Systems for Coaches. If you sign up for any of those, if you're one of the first 10 people after this webinar to sign up for those, I'll send you a link for a bonus change piece that you can do right away to start preparing your unconscious to create more of what you want automatically. As a matter of fact, when we did this webinar last week, my assistant Patty had to watch the little video so that she could get it prepared to send out. And she told me an hour after she stopped watching it, she got a call for a new prospect. I love those stories. It's like the guy who edited all my videos for the online Money Magic class. He spent a month editing the videos. He told me that month his income quadrupled. He didn't even do the exercises. He was just listening as he edited. So, but before, we're going to go to live Q&A in a minute. But before I do that, let me answer some of the most common questions. And the most common question I get is, what if I can't afford it? Well, this makes sense. This is exactly why someone would want to take a money workshop, is because money is a struggle. So I will never tell you to take something that you think you can't afford. That would be unconscionable. But if you think you can't afford it, I promise you that you have beliefs and patterns that are limiting your experience of life. Now, people will ask me the price. The price is $997 Australian. Somebody recently at another Australian workshop asked me, well, what's the value? I said, I honestly don't know how to answer that. I'm not being disingenuous. I don't know how to answer what's the value. I mean, the most impressive dollar value story is Ike Sandwiches. He's quite famous now, but Ike, when Ike came to Money Magic, he had one sandwich shop in San Francisco. It was making $300,000 a year, and he was getting evicted. He came to Money Magic, and he had a very big breakthrough, some very big realizations about beliefs he had around money. In the next year, after having this one shop for years that was shutting down, he opened 7 in the next year, and his business went from $300,000 a year to $3 million in the first year. Now, he recently said, or it's on a video if you want to watch, but he recently got an offer to buy his business. Now, it's much bigger than 7 stores, but an offer to buy his business for $100 million, which he turned down. So that's a dollar value it can put. But the real value of the course, I don't know how to value for people. One guy took the online class because he said he wanted to spend more time with his children, and he needed to make good money to support his family, and he felt like he needed to work as much as he was to earn that income. He got a little weirded out because when he started in the online class, within a few weeks, all of a sudden he was picking his kids up from school every day. He was still making the same amount of money, but suddenly he had time to pick his kids up from school and visit with them and have dinner with them. He said, I don't understand how this is happening. It makes no sense to me. But that's what happened. Something changed, and his reality changed. So, how do you put a value on that? Now, the easy answer is to say, oh, time with your kids, it's priceless. But actually, we do put a price on that stuff. We put a price on time with our kids. We put a price on time with our loved ones. We put a price on our health. There are things that we think would be good for our health that we don't do because of money. We do put a price on that stuff, not because we're bad people, but because we think we have to. Because we think there's limits on what we think we can be and do and have. Now, If you don't revise those beliefs with us because of money, that's fine. I hope you can revise them with someplace. Because what they're costing you in terms of your energy and your life force and possibility and joy is really expensive. But if it's really an issue and you don't think you can come, here's a little exercise, experiment you can try. It takes a little effort, but it's free. How about that? So just once a day or so, say to yourself, or you can say it out loud or in the privacy of your brain, I'd like to attend Money Magic. Don't say, but I don't know how, I don't know if I can afford it, I don't know how to make it happen. Just, I'd like to attend, and then let it go. Like once a day, that's it. I'd like to attend. Don't make yourself do it every hour. Actually, this is not about effort. Just occasionally, I'd like to attend. And then just see what happens. Money Magic, Clear Path to Love, whatever. See what happens. Sometimes, when people do this, money shows up in unexpected ways. Can't promise it, but it won't hurt to try. With this, or actually anything in your life. It doesn't have to just be about our courses. The next question I get is, what if it's not good timing for me? There's two things timing can mean. Nothing will work for someone if they're not ready. I mean, that's free will. But if it's just a timing issue, like you have other plans or another workshop, if it's a calendar logistic, then there's always online Money Magic, which is a 6-month program starting in September. And then the last question is, how do I know this is different from other problems and will work for other programs and will work for me? Well, there's actually no way to know it will work for you. Nothing works for everyone. That's just part of the variety of being here on planet Earth. It has worked for so many people in really amazing ways, but there's no way to know. I can tell you, though, this is a different workshop. It is not like every other workshop, because part of the problem is I'd never gone to any other workshops. So the one I created is different from everything else. I don't get out much, but everybody that I know who takes workshops tells me this is very different. And it focuses on changing the unconscious patterns so that things change. Now, like I say, I can't promise it works for everybody. Free will. Nothing trumps free will. But this doesn't focus on the symptoms. This doesn't focus on behavior. This focuses on changing the patterns and filters that have created your life. It's not about getting yourself all pumped up and rah-rah for 2 days and then ride the adrenaline for a few days and then kind of go back to where you started. It's about permanently revising the patterns that you have and the filters that you use to create your reality. So it changes your actual set point in life. I'm going to read you one letter from a client, and then we'll actually get to your questions. Oh no, we're going to do a bonus change piece. If you can hang in there, we'll do a little change piece. But this lovely woman, Ornella, wrote me this letter. I just finished paying all my bills for this month, and I smiled thinking about how much the energy around my money has shifted after Money Magic, and I just wanted to share it with you. Before Money Magic, I used to think that the money I made wasn't enough for me to buy the nice things I wanted, pay my bills and credit cards in full, and also have some money left to put in my savings account. It was really frustrating, and I was always behind my credit card payments, not able to pay the full amount due every month, and saving very little or nothing at all. I'm still making the same money, but somehow I'm not able to pay all my credit cards in full. I buy the things I want even more than before, and I save regularly. And I save regularly. I almost doubled my savings, and I even have some money left in my account every month. So what changed for her? Because it wasn't the money and it wasn't the work, but her reality changed because the patterns changed. So I promised you bonus change work. So here it is. The first part we borrowed from Charles Dickens. It's called The Ghost of Christmas Future. So I might take my screen down so you make pictures in your head. So take a moment and imagine living out the rest of your life with the current patterns that you have around money. The same beliefs, the same patterns you have around money. Imagine living all the way out to the end of your life, to the point where you're just about to leave life, and where you're looking back on that life as you get ready to leave it. Notice what it's like to look back on it. and what it's like to leave that life. When you've had time to experience that, come back into present time. And now, imagine a you who has a little bit more of what you want. It could be more money, it could be more time, more ease, more fun, or all of the above. But feel what that's like. How do things look and sound and feel? And what is life like? Then imagine a version of you where it's not just a little better, but noticeably better. If you can't imagine this, don't worry, hang in there. But feel what that's like. How do things look and sound and feel, and what is life like when it's noticeably better? Then imagine a version of you where it's a lot better. Feel what that's like. How do things look and sound and feel? And what is that life like? Now, just because we can, and especially if it was hard for you to imagine, imagine someone else who has the experience you want to have fully, who's having a really good life on all counts. Step into them and feel what that's like. How do things look and sound and feel? And what is life like for them? Now this is the last part. Now imagine a version of you who lives out the rest of your life having that greater experience of what you want. All the way out to the end. Look back on that life. What was it like? Who was there or not there? What's the experience of that life? And what's it like to leave life when that was what it was like? When you're ready, come back to present time and just notice the difference between those two life trajectories. At this point, you've learned all you need to from your current patterns. There's really no value in continuing them unless they're giving you what you want. It might be time to start to create your life from present time, from what really matters to you, from who you came here to be and what you want to have in your life, instead of from the circumstances you were born into. It takes no more energy to create wealth and abundance than it does to create struggle. Honestly. Just like it takes no more energy, if you have a slide projector, it takes no more energy to project a beautiful image than it does a dark one. It's just a question of what's in your slide projector. So, look at your life, what you call reality, what you just take for granted, whatever's going on with your work, with your money, even with your love and health, that's what's in your slide projector. That's your core beliefs. And most of those slides in your projector, most of them are unconscious. Is the world a dangerous place? Is money hard to come by? Do you have to work hard to get money? Do you think if you get it, something bad will happen to somebody? These are all kinds of beliefs that we have. You can decide you want to think happier thoughts, But if you've got hundreds of thousands or millions of patterns running automatically, that's a full-time job trying to override them. Life can be really good for you. It's meant to be really good for you. You weren't meant to come here to live a frustrating or limited life. We're meant to create our lives and create them beautifully. We are designed for it. So if this would matter to you, we would love to help you create more and more happiness and choice and freedom in your life. Please come and join us. Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, I'm going to stay on the line now and we can take questions. For everyone else, thank you and have a lovely Saturday.